Okay people, so here's the new hot water system. It's an old aluminium pot that I think my uncle bought from an op shop or something like that. This whole hoogly-magoog here, just try and light this up with my lantern. Yeah, it works. If you're willing to wait about 2 to 2.5 hours and run the generator the whole time, you'd probably heat that water if you burnt that petrol. But, you know, because a generator takes quite a while to go through a bit of petrol, well, yeah, you wait quite a while. It does work, but, oh, it's just pathetic, to be quite honest. Anyway, water pump there works fine. I'll try and show it without dropping the damn phone in here. Oh, yeah, you can see it there. Little tap with the red handle. That's a three-way piece, and I've turned that tap off to get me the appropriate amount of pressure up in the shower head, which is the one on the left there. The other one's a Coleman one. And there's a tap as well. I turn that tap off, and I don't touch the other tap, and I'll actually mix the water for me. And you'd be shocked at how hot the water gets on top. It's that hot, it's just about burning, and you can put your foot down, your hand down about a foot deep, and it's stone cold, or, you know, room temperature or something like that, while the top is that hot it's just about burning yourself. So I sort of turn this tap off here, and then fire the pump up with the three-way tap partly opened, which is, you know, the right amount to give me pressure in the shower head, but not to strain the actual pump. But also acts very good when I turn the shower head tap off to mix the water in here. But, you know, I had one shower and I was under this shower for, a pathetic amount of time. Just ridiculous. And here I am, gone down between a third and a quarter. A third and a half. I'll try and work out where it is on the side and give you a bit of perspective. Yeah, it's probably about where my finger is there. So yeah, it's in between a third and a half. And that's, you know, I was in the shower for that long, it was stupid. But I'd probably only actually use about a third of the water in this. Now, when I put in that pot, after that pot was simmering, I poured it in and topped right up, probably, to about there. Like really, you know, only 3 inches off the top of this or something like that, maybe 4 inches off the top. And that one pot of water warmed this up enough to have a shower almost straight away. I ended up letting the frying pan and the 2 coil heaters run for about another, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, something like that. But honestly, I could pour it in and it was hot enough straight away. But seeing I only used between a third and a half, and I could probably get away with only using 1/3, I've decided that I'm going to throw that pot in, you know, pour the water out of that pot into this, and run it a lot lower, because honestly, it doesn't need to be full. It only actually needs about, between a third and a half in there to run fine. And if I have less cold water in here, when I pour in that pot, this water is actually going to be warmer, to the point that I can just forget about all the electric heating elements and only use the pump, which means the generator runs about, 7 minutes or something, and get the pump circulating, pour the water in, and it'll circulate for a second, turn that tap on, and have the shower. And then I wipe my hands. I usually have the, sitting on the door here, I have the towels, and wipe my fingers dry with that before I turn the switch off, because I'm not that stupid that I'll turn a switch off with wet fingers. Anyway, that's what's going on with all that. Now, things are going quite well with little miss. I've decided, and I've told her this as well, I'm not going to make any more dating videos and that, because things can get confused, misunderstood. She can get offended and think, you know, I didn't want you to tell them all that or whatever. And I've said to her, look, it's best if I just, you know, I'll just shut up for both of our sakes, sort of thing. I know someone's going to put in the comments right now, you know, but you go with Troy anyway. Yeah. Up your ass. Anyway, I haven't got this week's pay yet, and hope I actually do. Sometimes he pays a day late, so I've got to go and check it tomorrow morning and see if it's in there. But this Chinese owner, he's the sort of person where if that was our last week, he wouldn't pay us for our last week. He'll only pay us if there's going to be another week. And, well, I hope this thing I'm hearing about, give him 2 or 3 weeks off, is actually real and it's not just get rid of him altogether. Because if he says, oh, you can come back now, I'm going to say, yeah, well, I want last week's pay before I'm coming back. And the other bloke, the fat bloke who I work with, he was seriously pissed that he only had a couple of days' notice. You know, he said we should have got about 2 weeks' notice that we're not going to, you know, have any work for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so I've got enough money to pay me rent. So he's trying to pay rent, and all of a sudden, 2 days beforehand, oh, guess what? Oh, and he's got blooming car insurance and all this other crap coming up. And, you know, he sort of said, you know, bloody hell, like, he's a bit shitty about it, actually. But anyway, oh, yeah. You know, I showed you those little holes with the frog holes and the frog on the footpath. I was walking past the next night and the frog was actually sitting in the holes. So they're definitely frog holes, but I've known that they're frog holes for the fact that around the roots of my trees they also decide to burrow in there because that's the only wet spot during summer, and I see them hop into those holes, and I see them sitting in those holes as I'm pouring the water there going, come on, pour the water on me, pour the water on me. I water the tree, and they love that bit when they're getting water poured over them. I don't like the bit where they're tearing out all the roots of a young tree and killing it. And they've done that to enough trees. At the moment we are going quite well on the fence, and my father's actually dug a hole to put a strainer post in, and we've got to cut a strainer post and put one of these, something like about 5 strainer posts in, and yeah, I've started ripping out some of the wire. Carmichael with it. He had lino, or linolin, as you may officially call it, in his house. That was the old one my grandparents used to live in back in the day, before he got bankrupted. Anyway, he's the sort of person that he'll never throw it out and make a start like a clean sort of a... Yeah, he won't clear out all the rubbish and then do the job nice and clean. He had 3 layers of lino in his house. He also had a terrible habit, as you may have realised from all the coins I've pulled out of the driveway here, of just dropping coins wherever. And they dropped all through his house. But he had the lino, this lino's wearing out, got to put another lino. So he put another layer of lino. And just laid straight on top of the coins. And so you saw these lumps under the lino, which were all the coins that were under there. And he ended up with 3 layers of lino and these coins stuck underneath. And the fence was no different. In some areas there is 2 layers of ring lock or stock lock. Or he's got one of them that's actually a crappy mesh. In other parts, like the part I was mucking around with later this afternoon, there's 3 layers. Yeah. 2 lots of ring lock and 1 layer of mesh, and then a plain wire fence, which is basically fence number 4. all in the same spot, all stuck on the same posts or posts jammed in beside one another, and oh, it's just a mess. Oh, and we're trying to pull all this out of the grass before the grass gets too long and whatnot. It's sort of maybe fortunate that it didn't rain much during the winter because the grass isn't very long, so it isn't quite as hard to pull it out of the grass. But yeah, whoa. So anyway, I don't know if I'm getting this week off or not, to be quite honest. But I talked with my father about doing scrap metal, and we've decided that it's best if we wrap all the fences up and then do the scrap metal. But I've got a lot of old corrugated iron sheets which you got to get the heave-ho around here and whatnot. Yeah, my car alternator is indeed dead, no question about it. You know, you can drive that side about blooming 20 k's, which I think is about like, I don't know, 14 miles or something like that. And you drive along and you watch all the fuel gauge dies and the oil pressure gauge dies, and then about a kilometre or two later, probably a mile later, she just stops. I mean, it just will not run without electricity. And you know, you spend 4 hours recharge the blooming battery with a battery charger at work, and you drive another 20 k's and she just come to a stop. And I got one of the blokes to come out with a work vehicle and jump start me there. And we left the leads on for about a minute and a half or something like that to allow a bit more to transfer through from the work vehicle's battery to my battery. It got me about 100 metres and I stopped again. Oh, it's lousy. The battery, the alternator light is on the whole time. And yeah, she's a dead horse, and I explained to the mechanic and he said, yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. It's the alternator. And I know because when I had you might have seen it, my first propane car, the orange wagon, the old banger from 1980, that had an alternator die and it went pretty much the same sort of way. But anyway, that's getting fixed. And here I was relying on this week's pay, so I might have barely $5 left by the time I pay him for fixing this alternator. But anyway, in the meantime, pulled out the other car, the backup car as I like to call it, and that's exactly what it's been. For some reason the propane, that's the one I drove Troy back from Melbourne in. For some reason the propane is stuffed up big time on it. It's just gutless. It's like as though there's no vacuum advance. You just can't accelerate, you know, and it just chugging along. And if you put it down, it just backfires and stops. But we had some of the one injector block and another second injector. It's a 6-cylinder. Start to block. I got this cheap, shitty blooming injector cleaner for $3. And I thought, oh god, blimey, who knows what this crap is. Anyway, I put it in, and she worked. Cleared all the injectors out. So now I'm running that on petrol/gasoline, and it runs fine. You can put the foot down and I'd up to 4,000 revs a minute tonight as I was accelerating hard with it on petrol. And so I've got that vehicle, and I can use that until the bloke says the other one's probably going to be ready blooming, you know, Tuesday or something, but whatever. I've got the red car and the backup car, as I call it, and it's acting as a backup car. Ended up, thought it might be something wrong with the backfiring it done on propane. We thought it might be the spark plug gaps, so we took the spark plugs out and we squeezed the gaps in and remeasured the gaps and all that and put them back in again. And just checked all the other fluids and topped up the washer fluid in it and power steering, and that was about it. And I'm glad that I spend money to keep that thing registered and insured, because it comes in handy in times like these. Yeah, might as well tell you one thing about little Miss, even though I said I wouldn't. Her grandparents are coming to move over here, and so she's going to New Zealand for a week to help them pack up and move over here. Yeah. That's about all I'll say. Yeah. I hope this job lasts and things keep going on. I think it will. We'll just see. But, yeah. Other than that, I had a wish that I hadn't bought so many damn power tools the previous week, so I'd have a bit more blooming cash to play with. And I was going to have like $1,000 or something to fall back on, but I sort of, you know, didn't realise we were going to have 2 weeks off until like Wednesday or something. So yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I've got a whole stack of blooming frozen chicken and stuff in my mum's house, and a lot of it I didn't even know I had. And I still got blackberries, and I got figs, and I got flipping whole like half of one of those sort of bins full of blooming potatoes, and about 8 kilos of rice out of the 10 kilo sack, and dehydrated bok choy or something like that I've got from an Asian food store, and we'll be right. Life goes on. Hopefully the fence will be going up, and that'll be up within a month, and then I'll have sheep in here, and yeah.